The Nightly Business Report.
Good evening. Tonight, final restructuring agreements reached successfully for $5.8 billion debt with OCC. Pres.Ranil addresses the nation's economic future. The Colombo Stock Exchange sees red once more as the ASPI and S&PSL20 close with losses. Chongqing Airlines is back in business with Sri Lanka as flights to Colombo resume.
From Studio 24, here's Sina Mayadune.
Good evening and thank you for joining us on the Nightly Business Report. Sri Lanka has reached a final restructuring agreement for $5.8 billion of debt with its bilateral lenders' official creditor committee in Paris, France, earlier today. Accordingly, this agreement grants significant debt relief, allowing Sri Lanka to allocate funds to essential public services and secure concessional financing for its development needs. This comes as Pres.Ranil addressed the nation a few hours ago.
Sri Lanka's State Minister of Finance Shahan Semasinga confirmed that they are pleased to announce the final agreement has been reached on debt restructuring between Sri Lanka and the Official Creditor Committee on the sidelines of the Paris Forum 2024 in Paris, France. On behalf of Sri Lanka, the State Minister expressed gratitude to all the OCC chairs for their leadership in this process, as well as all OCC members for their unwavering support.
The economy is bouncing back strongly. We have recorded a 5.1% growth in the first quarter of 2024, and this was as a result of a concerted effort by the international partners and the authorities of Sri Lanka. And I must also highlight the fact the leadership extended by His Excellency the Pres.Ranil.
Meanwhile, the President spoke on Sri Lanka's economic future in his national address today. The President emphasized his gratitude to all bilateral lenders and highlighted that in 2022, Sri Lanka allocated 9.2% of its GDP to foreign debt payments. However, with ongoing efforts, this percentage is expected to decrease to less than 4.5% between 2027 and 2032, reflecting significant fiscal improvement.
To those that love the country, this is good news. We have worked for this level of agreement with our bilateral creditors over the course of 2 years. The lengthy discussions we had with our creditors were a great strength during these negotiations.
On an additional note, the President and Minister Semasinga also confirmed that Sri Lanka has signed bilateral debt treatment agreements between Sri Lanka and the Export-Import Bank of China.
Power and Energy Minister Kanchana Wijesekara has confirmed that under the restructuring plan of the Ceylon Petroleum Corporation, the CPC-owned refinery will be established as a separate government-owned and operated entity.
While sharing an X message, he said that restructuring of the CPC aims to attract and secure necessary investments to improve fuel quality, efficiency and capacity while reducing costs. The CPC's current approved cadre and salary structure will also be revised, and digital platforms will be introduced for various functions and services. A discussion on the timeline and process for implementing the reforms took place with the senior management of CPC and the refinery.
According to a government statement, Sri Lanka's cabinet has given approval to seek investors for a 200-megawatt independent power plant on a build, own, operate and transfer or BOOT basis.
The internal combustion power plant will be capable of running on natural gas and is part of the long-term generation expansion of state-run Ceylon Electricity Board. The investor will get a 20-year power purchase agreement. Land next to the Sobodhanavi combined cycle plant will be made available for the developer. According to the generation plan, the 200-megawatt IC plant is expected to come on stream by 2026. In 2026, a 115-megawatt gas turbine, a CEB-owned diesel plant of 68 megawatts and 72 megawatts are also due to be retired.
Industry sources are reporting that Sri Lanka's state-run Ceylon Electricity Board has received a bid for 4.88 cents a kilowatt-hour for a 50-megawatt wind power plant in Mannar from Windforce plc.
Vidul Lanka, Universal Energy and Square Mech has made a bid for 4.98 US cents a unit. Lakhdanavi Limited has made a bid for 5.9 cents. The 4.88 cents works out to around 14 rupees and 80 cents a unit at 305 rupees a dollar. Mana has high winds, giving a high plant factor in excess of 40% based on the performance of the CEB's existing plant. The bids were opened today in the presence of representatives of power companies. The opening of the bids was originally scheduled for May. However, the opening of the bids was delayed amid objections from the Sri Lanka Sustainable Energy Authority.
Finance Minister Dr. Ranjit Siyambalapitiya has asserted that the proposed property tax will come into effect after the first quarter of 2025 and will not affect 90% of the general public. The minister said that this is a very progressive tax system which is being implemented in many countries of the world, and that this tax was implemented even when N.M. Merera was the finance minister. The minister also stated that after the implementation of this tax, the amount of indirect tax levied on the common people can be reduced in future, and thus 100% people can enjoy the benefit of this tax. Software giant IFS announced that it is set to launch a new venture in Colombo port city, a move expected to create additional 1,000 new employment opportunities. IFS CEO Mark Moffat made the announcement delivering the keynote address at the DigiEcon Global Investment Summit 2024, underscoring the company's long-term commitment to Sri Lanka's economic development.
Moffat outlined the strategic importance of this new initiative and added that this project will generate additional thousands of employment opportunities in the years to come. IFS CEO underscored the significant contributions of Sri Lanka to the global success of the enterprise application software company. Despite its Swedish origins, IFS has cultivated a robust and impactful presence in Sri Lanka over the past 25 years. He elaborated that IFS's investment in Sri Lanka has been a cornerstone of its global success, contributing to over 20% compound growth annually for the past 6 years. The company has created over 10,000 employment opportunities in Sri Lanka over the past quarter century. Moffat attributed much of this success to the exceptional software engineering talent and the resiliency and agility of the Sri Lankan workforce.
Tourism Minister Harin Fernando said Sri Lanka's attempt to woo tourists from 67 countries with free visas is likely to face a $10 charge from VFS Global, an outsourcing provider, and also the website.
The minister reiterated that the government will not take any charges. Minister Fernando said he could not exactly say what will be in the final cabinet paper, but the facilitation fee paid to the VFS Global would help reduce potential congestion in the airport. The Public Security Ministry has said the VFS website was required on national security considerations on which the minister was unable to comment. His interest was to boost tourism, which can conflict with national security. A report by an 11-member committee on free visas is likely to be submitted to the cabinet in the next 2 weeks.
Let's take a short commercial break. This is the Nightly Business Report. Welcome back to the Nightly Business Report. Here are some market updates for you now. We are back in the full red over at the Colombo Stock Exchange today as the market closed with both the ASPI and the S&PSL20 indices ending with losses. For an update, let's connect with Dylan Disanayake from Capital Alliance.
Today, the Colombo Stock Exchange concluded on a negative note compared to the previous trading session, brought on by profit-taking among market participants. The market ended at 12,261 points, marking a 12 points decrease from the previous session, with a turnover of 1.8 billion rupees. The SL20 index experienced an upward movement of 2.73 points to end the day at 3,632 points. Notable institutional engagement was observed across various sectors, with crossings recorded on Winforce PLC, Central Finance and Haley's PLC. The top 5 gainers for the day were Nation Lanka Finance, Industrial Asphalts, SMB Leasing, Senkaragala Finance and Tess Agro PLC. The top 5 losers for the day were Royal Palms Beach Hotel, Cargo Boat Development PLC, Kahavatta Plantations, Ramboda Falls PLC and East West Properties.
We've got some information on the behavior of the markets today ready for you now, with the latest numbers of the Colombo Stock Exchange and its fluctuations. There are bond and bill auctions occurring today as well, and with it, the secondary market is anticipating some movement. For an analysis, here's Dimantha Matthews from First Capital Holdings.
Today in the government securities market, we again had a treasury bill auction of around 160 billion rupees worth of treasury bills being offered, 40 billion rupees of 3 months bills, 80 billion of 6 month, and 1 year bills, another 40 billion was offered. So out of that, we saw very high demand coming in of 261 billion rupees, and then again 115 billion was only accepted today. So after a long time, we are seeing the acceptance level being sizably lower than the offered amount, and also there was a sizable rise in the treasury yields as well. So the 3 months weighted average was at 10.07% compared to 9.39% 1 week ago, and 6 months was 10.19% compared to 9.81% 1 week ago, and 1 year was again 10.31% and 9.9% was last week. So you can see that there was a significant rise in rates, and similarly the impact of that came into the secondary market as well, with the short tenors rising in yields. However, something to note is that the mid tenors and the long tenors did not move too much, so broadly stagnant. However, we are seeing some selling pressure coming in the short tenors with the rising yields. So there seems to be unwillingness of the central bank to move up and take up some of the yields. That's why the acceptance level was sizably lower than the offered amount, and so we are likely to see that central bank sort of looking at limiting the purchases or the acceptance levels going forward if the rates continue to rise. And also we've seen that the short tenors were significantly high in terms of acceptance compared to the longer tenors. So there is an indication that central bank is not willing to move up too much in terms of the rates.
Gold prices were subdued today as investors awaited for a key U.S. inflation reading due this week, which could offer more clarity on the timing of the Federal Reserve's first interest rate cut this year. Spot gold eased 0.3% to $2,312.90 per ounce, and U.S. gold futures fell 0.3% to $2,324.80. Oil prices declined slightly today, extending significant losses from the previous session. This was driven by lingering doubt over global demand, particularly as data indicated an unexpected build in U.S. inventories. Brent oil futures expiring in August fell 0.1% to $84.90 per barrel, while West Texas Intermediate crude futures dipped 0.1% to $80.78 per barrel. The Sri Lankan rupee remains steady against the US dollar at commercial banks in Sri Lanka today compared to yesterday. According to the People's Bank, the buying and selling rates of the US dollar have increased from 299 rupees and 59 cents to 299 rupees and 74 cents, and from 309 rupees and 73 cents to 309 rupees and 89 cents respectively. At commercial bank, the buying rate of the US dollar remains unchanged at 298 rupees and 82 cents, while the selling rate is 309 rupees. Now let's observe how the rupee behaved against other currencies. Let's take a short commercial break. This is the Nightly Business Report. Welcome back to the Nightly Business Report. Sino-Sri Lanka ties are remaining over-strong as Chongqing Airlines, an airline based in China, resumed direct non-stop flights from Chongqing to Colombo.
The inaugural flight from Chongqing to Colombo arrived with 78 passengers and was welcomed with a celebratory water cannon salute upon arrival at the BIA. Further, passengers were warmly welcomed by a traditional Kandyan dance performance sponsored by Sri Lanka Tourism Promotion Bureau and presented with tea gift packs sponsored by the Sri Lanka Tea Board. And there will be 3 weekly flights between Chongqing and Colombo. Aircon Aviation Private Limited is the general sales agent for Chongqing Airlines in Sri Lanka.
The Sri Lanka Export Development Board, in collaboration with the engineering faculty of the University of Moratuwa, launched a new program to integrate the construction-related and power and energy industry with the university research projects to address challenging research questions with real-world applications.
This program is planned for 2 years commencing from 2024 till the end of 2025 with the participation of selected companies. This program will also enhance the quality of construction-related and power and energy services of Sri Lanka and will lead to generate more foreign exchange earnings to the country. The main objective of this initiative is to establish a connection between the industry and university research projects in order to tackle complex research queries that have practical applications. The EDB has officially extended an invitation to the private sector companies to take advantage of this opportunity and enhance their products and services.
The Sri Lanka Export Development Board, in collaboration with the Faculty of Engineering, University of Moratuwa, launched this program to connect the university and construction and power and energy sector industries. Initially, these are the industry sectors that we are trying to connect with the university in order to develop R&D. If you look at the objective of this program, it is to identify innovative solutions, address challenging research requirements of the industry.
Venora Lanka Power Panels Private Limited and Sentinel Systems, with their expertise in the field of electrical engineering, were the first to submit their business R&D proposals related to power and energy under this program.
Cinnamon Hotels and Resorts has introduced the Gathering of Giants, an immersive educative weekend set from the 9th to the 11th of August at Cinnamon Habarana Complex, a unique event aimed to transform the annual natural phenomenon of the world's largest gathering of Asian elephants into a celebrated and educational experience for all.
This spectacular gathering, recognized as the highest concentration of Asian elephants in a single location, occurs at Minnaria National Park, where the Minnaria tank sustains more than 300 elephants during the dry season. Situated close to Minnaria National Park, Cinnamon Habarana Lodge and Habarana Village by Cinnamon, collectively known as the Cinnamon Habarana Complex, offers guests matchless opportunities to witness this awe-inspiring event. The Gathering of Giants event, hosted by Cinnamon Hotels and Resorts together with Cinnamon Nature Trails and Ceylon Bank, aims to treasure, conserve and celebrate this natural wonder, emphasizing the need for peaceful human-elephant coexistence and effective conflict management. Deputy Chief Executive Officer and Chief Operating Officer of Cinnamon Hotels and Resorts, Hishant Singhavansa, highlighted the significance of this event, stating the Gathering of Giants truly symbolizes the commitment to conservation and sustainability. This signature event aligns perfectly with the ethos of Cinnamon Hotels and Resorts. The annual gathering, occurring from July to October, sees smaller elephant herds from surrounding habitats congregate at Minnaria and Kaudulla National Parks. Recognized as the 6th largest animal gathering globally by Lonely Planet and acclaimed by BBC and CNN, this natural phenomenon offers visitors a unique and memorable experience.
Let's take a short commercial break. This is the Nightly Business Report. Welcome back to the Nightly Business Report. Most Asian stocks drifted higher today, tracking gains in the technology sector, while Australian shares fell sharply as hotter-than-expected inflation data ramped up concerns over higher interest rates. Australia's ASX 200 index was the worst performer in Asia, down 1% after consumer price index inflation data read hotter than expected for May. Japan's Nikkei 225 index was the best performer in Asia, rising 0.9% on gains in heavyweight technology stocks, particularly chip makers. Gains in chip makers also saw South Korea's Kospi at 0.3%. China's Shanghai Shenzhen CSI 300 and Shanghai Composite indices fell 0.4% each, while Hong Kong's Hang Seng Index rose marginally. China's Premier Li Qiang used his address at a World Economic Forum meeting in Dalian to hit back at accusations from the US and the EU that Chinese firms benefit from unfair subsidies and are poised to flood their markets with cheap green technologies.
Li's comments come as China and the European Union prepare to host technical talks on the planned imposition of tariffs on Chinese-made electric vehicles imported into the 27-strong bloc, and after the United States unveiled steep tariff hikes on an array of Chinese imports, including EV batteries, in May. Also known as the Summer Davos, the World Economic Forum's 15th annual meeting of the new champions runs from the 25th of June to the 27th in northeast China's coastal city of Dalian. Li also met with the forum's chairman Klaus Schwab. Managing director of the World Economic Forum, Mirek Dusek, has underscored the tripartite focus of the Summer Davos Forum: global, Asian and unique Chinese perspectives, while highlighting the crucial need to understand China's economic priorities and its innovative ecosystem amid global turbulence.
The Nasdaq rallied today, buoyed by strength in Nvidia and other tech mega caps, while the Dow slipped as retailers weighed and investors waited for crucial inflation data due out this week.
U.S. stocks ended mixed on Tuesday, with the Nasdaq rallying thanks to a rebound in shares of Nvidia. The Dow dropped 0.75%. The S&P 500 gained 0.4%, and the Nasdaq climbed 1.25%. After a three-session sell-off, AI chip leader Nvidia bounced back with a gain of more than 6.5%. That helped turn the tables for the major stock indexes a day after the Dow closed at a one-month high, while the S&P 500 and Nasdaq both slid. Among other tech names, shares of Alphabet and Meta Platforms both saw solid gains. Other movers included cruise operator Carnival, which gained more than 8.5% after raising its annual profit forecast for the second time this year. Dragging down the Dow were shares of retail giants. Home Depot shed 3.5%, while Walmart stock dropped 2% after the company's CFO flagged the second quarter as the, quote, most challenging quarter at an investor conference in London.
Well, that concludes today's Nightly Business Report. We'll see you again tomorrow with the latest happenings around the business globe. Until then, I'm Sina Mayadane, and have a good night.